Welcome to Micro Terrors. Scary stories for kids, where it's always the spooky season, full of chills, thrills, and spine-tingling spooks. Micro Terrors are family-friendly frights for those ages 8 and up. And while our stories are for younger ears, we are still talking about things that go bump in the night, and some children may not be able to handle what others can. Parental consent is recommended. Now, for tonight's Micro Terror.
Creatures were stirring. A Micro Terrors classic retelling of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, written by Scott Donnelly. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the haunted house, several creatures were stirring, including a morbid, bloodthirsty mouse. Old stockings were still hung by the chimney from long ago, when the inhabitants of the house had yet to be turned to ghosts. Zombie children all staggered the halls, some still limp in their beds, all craving brains except for the dead ones in their own heads. The snarling beast from the basement and the bloodthirsty mouse had just settled for the night in the dark, scary house. But outside the window they could hear people shouting, and they sprang into action to see what the night could be hiding. Away to the window, the snarling beast flew like a flash, and the bloodthirsty mouse tore open the sash. As the moon shined down on the fresh-fallen snow, the two creepy creatures could see everything below. And to what did appear to the beast and the mouse were 8 tiny reindeer outside of the house. A plump little driver with a large, fluffy beard examined the damaged sleigh that the reindeer had steered. With a tiny, squeaky elf aside the plump man on the lawn, the beast and mouse knew this had to be Santa Claus. Santa Claus was clearly upset by the crash that had happened. He blamed his reindeer, his elf, and adjusted the cap on his head before he shouted and screamed at his team, "Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donder, Blitzen, Orville! You failed me on this flight, Orville, you failed me tonight! Now dash away, go away, all of you!" All of the reindeer and Orville, the elf, fled the snowy yard, leaving Santa by himself. The snarling beast and the bloodthirsty mouse leered out the window as Santa Claus curiously studied his spooky whereabouts. As the cold night continued on, the beast and the mouse found a way to usher Santa Claus into the house. The ghosts of the people who'd lived there before found ways to scare the plump man to his core. The limp zombie kids who roamed the halls and occupied the beds just the same would pull and tug on Santa Claus, all arguing over who got his brain. Then, when Santa thought he had escaped, when he thought he was in the clear, that's when the snarling beast and the bloodthirsty mouse had appeared. Santa stood still, unsure what to do. He shook and he shivered in his big clunky boots. The beast and mouse both crept closer with malice, gleaming from their eyes, leaving Santa completely hapless. And then, in the blink of an eye and quick whip of the wind, through the window, Orville the elf came crashing in. Decked out to the halls with dual whips made of garland, he snapped and he lashed, forcing the monsters to heel before him. "Santa, come on! We haven't much time!" Orville the elf shouted. "Leave no Santa behind!" Santa bellowed and now laughed in the hairy faces of evil, turning his back and releasing a howl so gleeful. Santa leaped out the window, Orville followed right behind him, and regrouped in the yard after an encounter so grim. In front of the repaired sleigh that Orville fixed completely by hand, the 8 tiny reindeer awaited Santa's command. The jolly old elf and the small, squeaky one both hopped in the sleigh, and Santa shouted, "Go on!" Without a second to lose, the reindeer all dashed. They flew and soared over the site where they'd crashed. Into the snowy night the sleigh vanished from sight, with Santa's deep voice echoing, "Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night! Except to those creepy things that all just tried to eat me!"
thank you for listening to Micro Terrors. Join us each Saturday for another scary story. For more fun, visit our website at microterrors.com, where you can get the latest Micro Terrors news, read fun facts about each story, sign up for our monthly newsletter, and even send in your own scary story for us to tell. Plus, you can become one of the terrified by joining the fan club at microterrors.com to enjoy exclusive perks like reading stories a week early, receiving complimentary books, and communicating directly with Micro Terrors writer and creator Scott Donnelly. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram using the handle @MicroTerrors. I hope you'll join us again soon for Micro Terrors, Scary Stories for Kids.